I'd like to welcome everybody to Game Changers in College and University Dining, a podcast series we've now been doing for several weeks with individuals that we characterize as game changers in the college and university dining market segment in North America. We define game changers as those that certainly have a vision, they have courage and also commitment, and certainly the courage of their convictions to move forward, and certainly change is very challenging and difficult in just about any organization, especially on college and university campuses. So courage might be the most important aspect of all these characteristics. But in any event, today we'd like to welcome Steve Olesen, Senior Director of Procurement and Budget Services for Spartan Shops at San Jose State University. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you, David. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks. Well, back in 2007, 2008, 2009, we had the opportunity to come to your campus. And initially, we were brought in by you to look at your student center. You were in the process of redesigning your student center and developing concepts, determining what would be part of that, what kind of space, programmable space requirements were necessary as part of a pretty major renovation in addition to that building. And as we went through the process, you outlined to us a series of objectives that we believe we accomplished as part of what was developed in those recommendations for the Student Center. But there was also an aspect of that to increase participation with resident students as well as commuter students, and even increase your bottom line. And when we went around campus, as beautiful as your campus is, with a lot of new construction at that time, and beautiful architecture, housing, and classroom buildings, there was one building that really stuck out, and it was this, I guess I should be careful with my choice of words, but it was, let's put it this way, I guess the best way to describe it, it was probably a state-of-the-art 1960s kind of...
That about is, that puts it into perspective, indeed.
So kind of that typical all-you-care-to-eat dining hall, and it was a big, unattractive building in the midst of all these very attractive buildings. And it really wasn't part of the initial charge, so to speak, but when we were looking at the overarching goals, I remember that we really went back to you, and after we addressed the primary objective, we then mentioned that, probably one of the biggest opportunities you have is sitting over there, what appears to be a big chunk of coal, might actually be a diamond in the rough. And so I was hoping today, Steve, you could talk a little bit about kind of what transpired since then, and what you've done there. We presented you a set of recommendations with hours and meal plans in addition to the student center recommendations, and I think it would be great to hear what your challenges have been, what maybe your successes have been, how that's changed the campus and the student experience on your campus, and just kind of what you've learned from it.
Sure. So yeah, like you said, we engaged about 2007, 2008. We knew we had the challenge of this new student union coming on board. Really an exciting time for us as a campus and as a company. And really looking to, what are we going to do in this building? How large does it need to be? How do we need to lay it out? Throughput is obviously a big concern for us. And then just really, what do our students want? I mean, we're sitting in our offices, and while we have staff out in the units, how do we really engage the staff, the campus, and the students to find out, what do you want? What are your visions for this new building? So we started there, and I think we were certainly very successful in getting that up, and all of the different concepts in there. Mm-hmm. But as you mentioned, we had this one unit, our residential dining facility, kind of a state-of-the-art, maybe 1970s. Maybe I'll give it another decade.
Maybe.
Yeah, and it's flanked by, at that time, it was only 2 or 3 years old, the new Campus Village.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Spectacular.
Yeah. So while we certainly didn't think about this when we started, it definitely came to attention that, what do we do in for residential dining? What does it look like? And what we came to find out was we weren't really there for the students at the times that they wanted us to be. So I want to say, we had more of a, I don't know if traditional is the word to use, but a traditional meal plan.
Yep.
Where, you had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you got your couple swipes for each one. We were open, as late as 8 o'clock at night at that time, and really didn't understand that the students wanted someplace to kind of come in and hang out and be able to eat and socialize after 8 o'clock at night. So, yeah, it was. I
remember, Steve, when we made the recommendations, and I, made a pretty compelling argument at the time in a positive way that there's a tremendous opportunity, not just for the residential students, but to benefit the whole program. And I think I think it was Jerry, I think at the time,
Yes.
The big decision maker there was kind of saying, David, thank you, but no thank you. We're not only do we not.
I think you're putting it kind of mildly there. I think when you had proposed anytime dining, I think he basically came out of his chair and wanted to come across the table, if you recall.
Maybe. My memory's a little sketchy.
Because
you kind of block out dramatic moments.
I think it was one of those, I think the first thing that came to mind is, what's going to happen to our food costs, what's going to happen to our labor, anytime dining, I mean, the hours, how are we going to pay for all this?
Right.
And, I could think as we, all sat back and discussed, and certainly he and I had a chance to think about the program more, it made sense.
Right.
So, and certainly after we went through and we launched the program, we found the opposite. Our food costs actually went down. And this is because instead of the students coming in and loading their plates up with food, because they thought this was their only opportunity to eat during this meal period, this meal time, they would eat a quarter of what they took, and 3/4 of it would be plate waste and end up in the dish room.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of waste that facility was generating was incredible, especially compared to when we went to anytime dining, and all of a sudden they knew that they were free to come and go as much as they wanted,
right.
Take only as much as they knew they would eat at the time. It was just a better atmosphere. And certainly, it saved on costs rather than generated additional costs.
So you extended the hours. I think, how late did you end up deciding to stay open?
1 a.m.
Okay, so you extended the hours continuously throughout the day to 1 a.m. You changed your meal plans to the anytime dining unlimited access meal plans.
Yep.
But it didn't require a complete renovation of the facility. I think you decided to strategically I think you had my partner Alvin redo the deli and maybe the pizza area, but the rest of the venue still was pretty dated but very functional. But with that new program of hours and access and menu laid over that, you were still able to achieve a lot of the benefits in terms of the students coming there and really appreciating the value of the experience, weren't you?
Yes, that's correct. Certainly, the program fit their schedules better.
Yes.
And again, with the cost savings that was generated just by lowering the amount of waste, we were able to reinvest those dollars into the facility. And again, we created this beautiful pizza and pasta area, which is still kind of the centerpiece of the building. And then as we generated even additional savings and our participation rates went up in the program, we found through that survey that when we were looking at the retail side, we found that Jamba Juice was very big with our students.
Right.
So we decided to approach Jamba Juice and talk to them about putting a kiosk inside the building. So, just imagine this retail kiosk that you'd see in a shopping mall or grocery store out in this area. And we decided to stick that inside. And, here's Jamba Juice, which is a very popular brand, where the kids could come up, and it was all part of the meal plan, so there were no additional dollars out of their pocket. That raised the participation rate. And then we put in, from those savings, we invested into like a little coffee kiosk with a local roaster. And again, that just added to the satisfaction of the entire dining plan.
So Steve, what's been your experience with when, now that you're open the extended hours till at least 1 a.m., when are the students using the venue? When are the most popular times of the day or night that they're coming and going from your residential dining venue now?
Yeah, that's a great question. What we've seen is that as we've extended our hours, the busiest time for both the Dining Commons, our residential dining program, and the Village Market, which is the retail, it's kind of a hybrid C-store, but the retail component of housing, we're busy from 11 p.m. till 1 a.m.
Really?
On some nights, quite considerably. So again, this is the time that our students want to use the facility. So when we were closing at 8 o'clock years before, we were doing them a disservice. We weren't there for them. So what we found is that the program has really benefited them in that way. Again, it's a safe environment. At night, they can hang out. And again, have their cup of coffee, have their smoothie, have their slice of pizza, whatever it is. But we find that the late night hours, again, are very, very busy for us.
Well, Steve, we always, one of the drums we always beat has to do with student success and what we believe contributes to that. And I think, you certainly were kind of in sync with you on this, is giving students opportunities to have more socially rich experiences when they're on campus, and how to use dining to help be a good catalyst to create that. So can you talk a little bit about what you've witnessed in terms of how the students come and socialize and study or hang out? I mean, how has that changed from the way it was before to the way it is now, and the role that this venue plays in the day-to-day lives of the students?
Sure. Well, certainly in the residential program, before, when we used to close early, and there was only, it seemed like, limited hours for your dinner, for instance, they would come in, kind of grab their food, and really just be concerned more about eating their food and really, getting on to something else, rather than having the facility as a place to socialize.
Right.
So certainly with the hours changing, with the anytime dining model, increased Wi-Fi in the building and such, they could come in, and again, they could relax, and especially having this coffee kiosk, this coffee venue, they're sitting back, they're enjoying their coffee, they have their laptops out, they're talking about projects, they're talking about what they're going to do tomorrow, they're talking about all kinds of the different things that students talk about, and they're doing it in our environment. They're able to come in there and study if they want. There's some areas in there that are kind of quiet spaces.
Right.
They're in there too. They have projects laid out on the tables as they're eating and drinking their coffee, drinking their smoothie. So it's allowed them to have a place, a community, really, just in that facility, rather than trying to go back to their dorm rooms or try to go all the way across campus over to the library, something like that. So it's really made, a very community-based building and program, just by changing the meal plan, essentially. That was certainly the catalyst for it.
And have you noticed, are there more commuter students coming to this venue now than before?
Yeah, there's certainly, we've developed community plans to be able to address that. We think they offer tremendous value. And yeah, they'll hang out there as well. And just, just the convenience of the building, I think is what helps. And, the overall, like you said, the student success, I mean, that's why we're there. We're there to, fuel them up and make sure they're getting everything that they need, and again, have that sense of community to all do well in their academic, endeavors, right? So, yeah.
What about faculty and staff? Have you noticed, have they used this venue any differently, or are they still primarily going to the student union or other places on campus?
we have found that some faculty and staff, they recognize the value of the plan.
Right.
The plan really is a tremendous value, especially if you're on the the 5-day or the 7-day plans. But we have seen increase in faculty and staff. Certainly, the community students and a lot of the faculty drift over to the new student union building because it's new and flashier and it's actually state of the art. And it's built in the past 2010, right? Not 1968. So it's flashy. It's got all of the things that they were looking for. Again, based upon the plan that we had originally set out for is try to make it all for them. So it's the overall dining program has definitely benefited from the research that was done back in 08, 09. So yeah.
Now, what about kind of the folks from housing or the folks from admissions, or even the folks that deal with things like student retention? I mean, have you received any feedback in those areas in terms of this being a plus or kind of neutral or kind of the way it used to be, no big change?
Yeah, I think certainly from the housing side, because we're so connected with them. Certainly the anytime dining plan, and again having this sense of community, and having a building, a safe area for all the students to hang out and study, and again just have this sense of community. I think they love it. It definitely offers them the opportunity to sell it as part of their plan, as far as their room and board, and having this anytime dining. I think just helps to elevate the program.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe since we've implemented this plan, housing's been completely full, and there's a new housing dorm unit coming online here next year. I believe is already sold out as well. It's right next door to the dining commons. So I think that's certainly helps them.
So this is really perceived as an amenity for living on campus and housing.
Yes, definitely.
And what about folks in admissions? Do they, in terms of how they present the school, does this? I mean, it is a dated facility, but does this kind of go in the big positive column as a check in terms of what your life potentially could be like if you choose to go to San Jose State, and having this as one of the options on campus?
Absolutely. I think both the program and the new student union building help. I mean, I was talking to a parent the other day, and she had mentioned how that definitely played a factor in choosing our university. San Jose State was dining and the facilities. So I think it's a big thing as we see. I think all over the country, it's dining is not just a small segment of the overall program. It's a large part of the college experience. So you want to be sure that you have a program that the students like and that they can enjoy. And I think it's a very big thing. I know not so much admissions, what I hear from, but our orientation group that every summer when the new Frosh class is coming on the campus, they talk about the program. They talk about the anytime dining. They talk about the new student union. They talk about all of our other facilities. So dining is a very large piece of, again, the college experience.
Right, and how that's presented and communicated to prospects. That's fantastic. So Steve, so what's next? I mean, what have you learned that you would do differently, and where do you see this going on your campus and in the coming months or years? How can you build on this or build on your success? What's your vision for the future?
Well, I think certainly what we've encountered is actually now we've kind of outgrown the building. The plan now, when you think about when that building was constructed and the number of students that were living on our campus, it was of adequate size. now with the success of the program and more units coming onto campus, what we found is that we need a larger building. The program as a whole, I think we're a victim of our own success in some ways. We definitely have to look at the throughput. So I think those are things as we get into the future. We have to look at our spaces and really try to design the spaces to support the kids, their schedule. We have to look at how the food is put out there, how is it presented. So there are a number of things that we see in the future. And how do we use even technology as well to speed up the lines and such?
Right.
Because again, we're putting out good food, quality food. We have nice facilities, so everyone's coming in, probably more so than what we had thought. So how do we grow the program overall? And that includes the infrastructure as well.
Right. So kind of to wrap it up here, what would you say to the Jerrys of the world, at least back in 08 and 09? I mean, as you know, we just bumped into each other at a conference recently out west, and
Yep.
we travel all over the country, all through Canada, and there is still quite a bit of skepticism and concern about going in this particular direction with dining. What would you say to them based on your experience? What would you say to those folks that are just, when they think of the 60s facility, they also think that, boy, we've got to get rid of anything that represents anything like anything that could occur in a building like that and make it retail, make it all brands. You've got a very robust retail program on your campus, and you always will, and that'll probably grow too. But what would you say about this as being part of the solution in terms of those folks that are still having a hard time maybe looking at a solution like this for their campus?
Sure. The first thing I would say is you definitely want to go out and survey, talk with the students, the campus administrators. You really want to try to gain insight from them. That's why you're there. You're there to serve the students of the university. So I think that's very important. That's the first step.
Okay.
And I think be open-minded. Some things we do differently. Maybe some things from how you were taught or how you've been in the business for many years. It's definitely a changing landscape. You want to be on the forefront. You definitely don't want to be sitting back there waiting for everything else to change. You want to be able, and you know how quickly the kids are changing today. Everything is so fast-paced. You need to be that way as well.
Right.
But you certainly need to be open to thinking in different ways. And again, when you first think of anytime dining, they're going to eat me out of house and home, right? They're just going to eat food all day. Well, no, that's not what happens.
Right.
I think it may seem that way at the start, but the more you think about it, certainly in our case, our costs went down tremendously. Not just 1 or 2%. And then I think the biggest part is being able to take that savings and reinvest in your program and really continue to grow the program.
Right.
And that's just a win-win for everybody.
Right.
And you can do it in an old facility. We're still in that old building.
Yep.
We've done, little renovations here and there to, again, reinvest and keep it fresh and grow the program and change as long as when the student, the students' tastes change and what they believe they need from you. When that changes, you're able to respond.
Right.
So, again, I think I would just keep an open mind, talk to other places that have done different things, see their success, see their challenges, and, go from there.
Right. Well, thank you, Steve. Again, I think that as far as being a game changer, you have changed the game on your campus. And I mentioned, courage and commitment, and vision, and certainly, all of those, I believe, came into play from when you first started considering this to actually working through it and putting your students first and making these changes, and even taking it to an even higher level with your Jamba Juice and your coffee kiosk in there to add more value for the students at no additional cost. And so I want to thank you for joining us today. Congratulations on all your success. I know it's going to continue. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And if you'd like some more information about Steve and the work he's doing on the campus, feel free to contact him or Josh Lazarus at our company, Portercock Consulting, or me directly here. And Steve, again, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
All right, thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you.